Ladies and gentlemen, Affordable Dentures proudly presents the Star of David, Dmitriy Salita. Welcome to the show, Dmitry. I appreciate you being here, sir.
Thank you. Love the intro. Makes me feel like I'm walking into the ring.
Woo! Oh, it's been a minute. I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't miss getting hit, though.
I do not miss getting hit.
Once in a
while.
Oh, so guys, to help me interview our special guest, it's the incomparable J.R. Bell of the Boxing Source. J.R., how you doing, sir? Woo! Well, I guess he's still getting his stuff in order, whatever that may be. But I tell you what, Dmitry, I love what you're doing with DAZN. I love the fact that you guys got TV dates because you have so many talented fighters. But most people, I don't think they understand that Kronk connection. So can you explain how, before we get into the TV show and your series, Big Time Boxing on DAZN, could you explain how you met Emmanuel and where that Kronk, and obviously Big Time Boxing USA, I can't even say it really without doing my best Emmanuel impression, right? Can you talk about your relationship with Emmanuel and how you met him and what a huge influence he was on you?
You know, God works in strange ways, and it's quite incredible how things came together. And you and I did interviews when I used to fight with Emmanuel on Sugar Hill. Mm-hmm. And now we're years later doing an interview as a boxing promoter, which is pretty awesome.
Amazing. Amazing. God is great. God is great. So how did you meet Emmanuel?
So, I mean, I knew Emmanuel for many years, obviously through the boxing circuit, seeing him at Gleason's gym. First, I believe I met him with Jonathan Banks and Vivian Harris, who used to train.
That's right.
Actually, first time I met him was when I fought on Israel pay-per-view. That was, I think, in 2002. We met, and he was impressed with my performance. Then I met him in the gym a year or two later, and we just had a relationship. He had a long-time friendship with Jimmy O'Farrell, Jimmy O, who was my long-time trainer, someone through whom I learned boxing and under whom I started in Star City Boxing Club. And and after I lost to Amir Khan, Jimmy called Emmanuel, and he told him that he can use your help. And I flew down to Detroit, and I started training at the Kronk Boxing Gym. The first day, actually, that we were supposed to meet, there was just a ferocious snowstorm, and it was before the navigation systems. And I was on the phone with Emmanuel for 40 minutes as he was helping me navigate through snowy Detroit to get to the Kronk Boxing Gym on Warren Avenue back in those days.
What a guy.
Yes, and I trained with Emmanuel for a week or so. He gave me an undivided, incredible amount of attention. And I met Sugar Hill, who was training a lot of Emmanuel's fighters. Mm-hmm. And one day, after being in the Kronk Gym for some time, Emmanuel said, Dmitry, I got to go to camp I think it was with Miguel Cotto, for his fight with Ricardo Mayorga. Mm-hmm. Sugar Hill is here. He does the same stuff I do. Mm-hmm. He's gonna pick up where I left off. And and that was in 2010. Actually, that was the end of 2009. And the rest is history.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's amazing when you receive that. I'll never forget. Emmanuel said, "Hey, pay attention to this kid right here, Dmitriy Salita. It's only a matter of time before he becomes the biggest promoter in boxing." And you know what? When you receive that kind of endorsement from Emmanuel Stewart, the great Emmanuel Stewart, what does that really mean to you?
Well, you know, Emmanuel didn't really say it to me, but he said it to Sugar Hill, and he said it to some other people around me. And
me?
Sugar said it to me, you know, some years ago, and it was quite incredible because, you know, the fact that he saw that in me in my earliest stages of being in the boxing business. Um, and I was just promoting my own fights, and the fact that Emmanuel recognized my vision and my talent and my love for the sport and really my potential is.
Oh, he got cut off. Oh my! Oh, here he is. Hold on. As you were, Dimitri.
Here's an interesting story. Speaking of seeing potential and talent, I remember this is in 2010. Tyson Fury came to the gym and he was about 9 or 10-0, and he was just the other white guy in the gym, the other white kid in the gym, you know,
And Andy Lee.
and Andy Lee, right? Yeah, yeah. So the two new white guys, which was me and Tyson Fury, and
Uh-huh.
and Tyson, when he first got there, I saw him. He doesn't have a physique, uh, you know, uh, of, of a fighter, and I just thought he was just a regular guy. And then he worked with Emmanuel for a week or so, and then when he started boxing with some of the guys that were there, you could see that he had talent, he was special. But I had
Yep.
never thought that he would be as special as he is now. And
Oh boy.
and Emmanuel saw it early on. So after the first Deontay Wilder fight, Tyson Fury hired Sugar Hill uh, to be his head trainer, and
Mm-hmm.
after the first fight, people say, "Well, what do you predict for the rematch?" And I said, with Sugar Hill in his corner, Tyson Fury is as close as unbeatable as he could be, because their philosophy, that Kronk boxing style, really aligns, and the way you perceive a fight. Every trainer, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, and every trainer in different countries and different um boxing hubs have boxing hubs in terms of trainers have a different way of seeing a fight and different philosophy of what happens in a ring and how you approach it. But Sugar's philosophy, Emmanuel's philosophy, uh, and Tyson Fury's philosophy on life and the way you perceive a fight aligns, and that's why they have such chemistry, because their uh, lifestyle and connection outside the ring uh, aligns, and that's why that's why the teaching of the craft comes so easy to him, and because they're aligned, and yeah, and I think it's a match made in boxing heaven, and really incredible to see Tyson Fury, do these incredible things now, and both of us now a decade later, more than a decade later, in these positions in the boxing world, which is really incredible, and I'm very grateful for that.
And indeed. And JR, do you have anything to ask Mr. Dmitry Salita?
Oh, I was just gonna, add in, given the recent events that have come on there, of course, with the Big Time Boxing USA, you just had the recent card there on March 28th. Like, what were you, or which fighter were you like most impressed about in that particular card on March 28th, last Thursday?
Well, so Big Time Boxing USA is a talent development platform, and after Showtime closed doors and Showbox is no more, I believe that there is a lack for talent development platform in the United States. And when we got this
Mm-hmm.
deal, I really wanted that to be where Showbox left off, so to say. Um, and where we have Raul Marquez, we're gonna make some other announcements, and where fighters that some people know, some people don't know, will get a chance to get high level exposure, to be tested, depending on the level in their careers, to get promotion, to get storytelling outside the ring. So I'm very grateful for this series, and we've developed a great talent roster, and I'm very grateful that I was able to develop this I believe one of the best talent rosters in the United States without a TV deal. Uh,
Indeed.
and
Indeed.
and now with the zone, it'll just make things a lot easier and better for the fighters, because they'll get exposure, they'll get consistent activity, and the boxing fans will benefit for it, because they'll get to see some of the best talent from around the country, from around the world. Um, so if you look at the first two shows, which was February 20th and March 28th,
Mhm.
we have some of the best prospects / contenders in the world. The first show had Adriel Holmes knock out Marlon Harrington. Adriel Holmes is a world-rated junior middleweight.
Indeed.
In the co-main event, Ali Ismailov, who I believe is one of the best blue chip light heavyweight contenders. He's rated number six or seven, depending on the day on BoxRec. He doesn't have that many fights, and a lot of people don't know who he is, but he beat many undefeated fighters in his career and several world-rated fighters, and is a force to be reckoned with.
DeVell Smith.
And DeVell Smith,
Mhm.
one of the best middleweight prospects in the country. Joseph
Indeed.
Hicks, U.S. Olympic team captain.
Mhm.
So it was great that those guys were able to stay busy and get exposure. And on this last show, March 28th, we had Vladimir Shishkin, who's the IBF number 2 official contender, in line, hopefully, to fight William Skull for the IBF world title once Canelo's fights happens on May 4th. And we had Juan Carrillo, 2-time Olympian, light heavyweight. His last fight was on show. He was the co-main event on Hall of Fame weekend Showtime Showbox event. Beat an undefeated fighter this last show last week. He showed his power, showed his ability. He's a force to be reckoned with. And of course, I believe one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, one of the biggest punchers in boxing, Shojakhan Ergashev,
Oh yes.
who went injured in the fight with Sabio Matias, but still did well and was winning the fight until his injury kicked in. He's back. He's recovered. He scored a spectacular knockout. That video is trending of his knockout on Instagram. So it was a great event, and I really believe, just from a quality point of view, to get an event like this midweek with 3 world-rated fighters that are a fight or two away from being world champions is really incredible. And
Absolutely. Very impressive.
And we want to keep the story going and combine world-rated fighters with contenders and prospects and put them in competitive fights. Everyone different level of competitiveness. On the February 20th show, Cameron Pankey, who was 9-0, very popular fighter and very good fighter, got upset by a fighter that was 2-3 from Mexico, and that goes to show you that was the fight of the night, because Cameron Pankey was getting beat up the first 3 rounds. He got dropped, and then out of nowhere, he caught a second wind. He got inspired, and he won the next 3 rounds. And it was really an incredible fight, and much respect to Cameron, because he showed the heart of a champion in that fight. Even though he lost, he showed the heart of a champion and skills. So there was an upset. On the last show, Nadum Salim, another A-side guy, got upset. So I'm very, it's a balance of showcase fights, competitive fights, different fighters on different levels, get a different level of progression. So people say, sometimes fighters say, well, am I the A side or the B side? So to me, there is no A or B side. You become the A side when you're in that ring. And that's what I tell the fighters at the weigh-in. I tell them, you're going to get a fair share. There's no favorites. May the best man win. All we want is competitive high-level boxing. And I'm very happy that's what we got. And the year is just starting out. And I really believe that a lot better and more things are set to come.
So I understand when you have, and once again, very impressive, your first 2 shows. How many dates are you going to have on DAZN this year?
We have several dates. We're working on the show for May, June, July, and August.
Very good.
And activity is very important. It's very important for fighters in different levels in their career to stay active, to build their brand, to sharpen their tools. And the first 2 events we did in Detroit, which obviously is one of the historic hometowns of boxing.
Indeed.
Emmanuel Stewart, Sugar Hill, Trayvon Chambers, known as Stir, trains Jake Paul, also from the Kronk Gym, and really greatly improved them. Clarissa Shields, Floyd Mayweather, Joe Louis, Tommy Hearns, Hilmer Kenty, Obakar, Joe McClellan. I mean, there's just the list goes on. How many Michael Moore? I mean, we can spend 30 minutes talking about the great fighters that came out of Detroit. Tony
Indeed.
Harrison, Cornelius Bundrage. Uh, so, the thing that's been going on for the last since Emmanuel has been gone really is that Detroit hasn't really had consistent high level boxing events here. And when I was at the Kronk Boxing Gym, besides seeing the champions that came through there were so many young kids that are now young adults that were so talented, and and there was not necessarily a place for them to fight and a place for them to progress themselves in town. And Detroit is one of the few cities in the country that has all the major league teams, football,
Indeed.
baseball,
Yep.
basketball. So it's a sports town, and they have a rich history of boxing champions. So it just made sense to develop that and to bring big time boxing here. We had a show with Clarissa Shields at Little Caesars Arena. That's like the Madison
Mm-hmm.
Square Garden of Detroit. First
Mm-hmm.
time a professional boxing event happened there. We had 11,500 people in the building. Great event, and that opened the door for more. Uh, and and I really believe that it'll just grow on from here. And our mission statement is to make Detroit one of the hubs of world class professional boxing, and I believe it's on its way.
Indeed.
One of the other things I may be answering your questions just by talking, so stop
Very
me.
good, sir. Very good.
So
No, no, keep going, sir. Keep going.
there's a rich subculture in boxing that people don't know about, but there's YouTube channels and Instagram pages and boxing managers that are in Detroit that haven't had that no one knows about. You know what I mean? That are kind of behind the scenes, but that are doing a great service.
Mm-hmm.
For these shows, we had boxing press come out from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and it's just starting. And I really believe there's going to be a snowball effect, and it'll only grow and get better. And our plan is not only to do events in Detroit, but I do want to kind of leave a footprint here, and and really establish a healthy boxing program and get the fans engaged and get the media engaged. And I really believe that the sky's the limit.
Exactly. The development of fighters, and there was no stage. Like, that's what Friday Night Fights used to serve on ESPN as well as Showbox. And
Mm-hmm.
now it looks like this very well may be the next Tuesday Night Fights on USA Network. Would you agree, Dmitry?
I would agree, and I would and yes, and it's a mix of Tuesday night fights and showbox. Yes, that is
Indeed.
a
Mm-hmm.
perfect way of putting it. When I was a kid growing up in Stereo City Boxing Club, my family immigrated here from the Soviet Union, from Ukraine. I was a poor kid, welfare, food stamps. I was in a boxing gym, and I saw Zab Judah in 1996 training for the
Mm.
Olympics. Then 6 months go by or a year goes by, he drives up to the gym in a Mercedes Benz. He's fighting at Madison Square Garden. He got a nice clothes. He got a nice watch. So you know what? It is Shannon Briggs and Monty Barrett, and these guys, just a couple of months ago had nothing, and now they're they're flossing. You know what I'm saying? So, and it inspires you, right? Because you do boxing because you want to make it out, and it inspires you, and it says, you know what? If I work hard, if I win the nationals, if I make it to the Olympics, if I make it here, if I make it there, there's a plan and there's a possibility for me to fight at Madison Square Garden to and to make some money and to get him to get a Lexus and to get a Cadillac, etc. In Detroit, there's a lot of talent, and you know many of the boxing gyms exist in the poor communities, uh, and draw a lot on that. But what I've seen in Detroit training here myself is that like you don't really get inspired because the prospect that's training next to you, he's going to Vegas, he's going to Atlantic City, or he's going to New York. So there was no way where you can say, okay, family and friends, you can come support me on
Exactly.
April 23rd. I'm fighting at this place at the Wayne State Fieldhouse, Little Caesars Arena, whatever it is, so that you can build the story and the fans can get inspired, and
That's
maybe the
right.
Detroit Free Press and Detroit News and CBS and NBC showcases you and tells your story and why you're boxing and how you made it. And I believe that this serves as a very important outlet and a motivation for for professionals and for amateur boxing. Because in my opinion, amateur boxing is the soul of the sport. That's where you learn how to
Indeed.
fight, and that's where that's where good things develop. So I really hope that, well, not only hope, but I'm hoping and working towards towards inspiring and resurrecting that young talent that's here in Detroit.
Indeed, and it's very impressive thus far, Dmitry. If we can, I know you have to run. Can we answer 2 questions, please?
Yes.
W.A.W, Larry, listen, welcome to the show, sir. And he said, Salita had a pretty good card last week. I enjoyed the fights. Ergashev looks promising. Can Salita expand more on the story of him getting stabbed, Joseph, or is that a private issue? Your thoughts, Dmitry?
I mean, yeah, it's somewhat of a private issue because I really don't know that much about it myself. But I know that, he went back home, and he was somewhere, I don't know what city he was in, and some guys were friends and they weren't friends, and like 6 people stabbed him and left him to die. And if you saw the DAZN show, you'll see he revealed to the broadcasters the stabs and the pictures from the hospital. And
Oof.
and he couldn't walk, and he was almost on a deathbed. And then 2 months later, he becomes the mandatory, and the IBF orders for him to fight Sabio Matias. And first he came to Florida, which is where he trains, and he did not let me know about it. And then finally he did sometime in August. And I told him, "Are you sure you want to do it?" He said, "Dmitry, no real fighters, no top guys, no top names are gonna fight me. I'm gonna take my shot and I'm gonna do my best." And he did.
Yeah.
And but in the 4th or the 5th round, his legs swell up, and he just couldn't move around the ring. That was his. The game plan was obviously to use his footwork, but he just couldn't do it. And Sabio Matias obviously did what he had to do. He's an exceptional fighter, and I will say this: as of today, while Ergashev has potential, and I believe that in a rematch he has a great chance to beat him, as of today, I think Sabio Matias is the best junior welterweight in the world.
I would agree with that.
And
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
He did a great job, and much respect to him. Not to take anything away from his victory, because he was sensational, but Ergashev was not 100%. And you saw in the first 3-4 rounds when he was also not 100%, but when he was alive, he was able to afflict damage and win rounds. So
Indeed.
Once the battery gave out, he couldn't function anymore, and Sugar stopped the fight in the corner.
So is that the goal? Is that the final goal? Do you guys want that rematch? Because you know how Emmanuel felt about rematches.
Well, Emmanuel was the great rematch guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe,
Yep.
Lennox Lewis, Oliver McCall, Chavez, Medrick Taylor. So he was the guy. He was the rematch guy. So and I believe that Sugar's picking up where he left off. So yeah, the rematch will be very exciting. Maybe Ergashev needs to get another win or two, before the public starts demanding it. But certainly that crippling knockout was a step in the right direction. I believe that he should. I believe that if it's Saber Matias or if it's the winner of Haney versus Garcia, the winner or the loser, depending how the fight goes. I believe that Regis Prograis. There's a lot of big names in the division, and I think that Ergashev slides right in there with him. And as he is now, I would pick him to be the winner.
Indeed. A final question from our brother, Andre Rodriguez. Welcome to the show, sir. He said, what are the plans Dmitry has for great prospects, such as Idagov, Joshua Pagan, and Devell Smith? Does he think they are ready for a step up this year?
Yes, I think Devell is a very talented fighter. I would love for him to have a step up in his next fight. Joshua Pagan, also a very talented fighter, very dedicated to the sport. U.S. national champion, had a real good amateur pedigree. lives boxing, very dedicated. If you look at him up on BoxRec, he already beat several undefeated fighters, and what that goes to show me is that he wants to be great. He wants to be a champion. When a guy early in his career fights undefeated guys, that shows me that his mind is in the right place. Same thing with Duval. He beat some undefeated fighters early in his career, and it's a good sign, and beat him in impressive fashion. So I believe both of those guys have real potential, and will showcase them on Big Time Boxing USA. Again, I believe so. Pagan was supposed to fight February 20th. His opponent got injured like a couple of days before the fight. Then we found somebody else, and that opponent got injured, so he just couldn't fight. February 20th, he had a training injury. I'm sorry, March 28th, he was supposed to fight. He had a training injury, so he couldn't fight. But you know, uh, our plan is to have him back on the next show, and Duval as well. You know, it's like at this stage of their careers, uh, Pagan is 9-0, Duval is 8-0. It's difficult to match them because a lot of guys look at their record and and they say no. So it's difficult to match them competitively and to match them, with a step up. But we will do our best, and hopefully that will happen, and boxing fans will see, we'll see what I saw in them. And again, these two guys are from the state of Michigan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Duval is from Detroit. Pagan is from Grand Rapids, which is where Mayweather is from. Joseph Hicks is from Grand Rapids as well. So there's just so much talent. And to me, well, not to me, but objectively, Detroit and Ohio, its neighboring state, Illinois, Chicago, has produced in recent times some of the best fighters in the United States.
Ohio as
That when,
well. Yep.
yeah, Ohio, man, is like a hotbed for boxing, and
Yep.
it's just 40 minutes away from Detroit. Toledo, a lot of very good fighters. So this is one of the hubs, one of the American U.S. hubs of talent, and
Indeed.
now there's a way for them to develop and to progress themselves. And
We love it. We
you know,
love
and
it.
I want to, before I go, I want to say this. And I appreciate that you've been covering our stories, and about me as a fighter. So I, as a promoter, started promoting my own events from really a club show level, from
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, from matchmaking to putting down chairs to finding a
Yep.
ticketing system, like
Everything.
really, really, like
Yep.
really, really, really grassroots from the beginning, from the bottom, right?
Mhm.
And the first fighter I ever signed was Jarrell Miller, and we progressed them in a good way. Um, and then Matchroom, when the first guy came to the United States, uh, they hired us to co-promote the first two events, which were on HBO. There was some of the last events that HBO promoted in New York
Yep.
City.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then because of our talent, we progressed to Showbox and promoted many events on Showbox, and with Clarissa on Showtime. So, I really, my development, and as a fighter, my first promoter was Top Rank, then it was Ludabella, then it was Square Ring, which was a break off from Don King, and then I
Uh-huh.
fought for Golden Boy. So as a fighter, I got a chance to see and experience some of the top companies in the world of boxing, some of the greatest promoters ever. And I was always very observant in terms of what was going on behind the scenes, and asked a lot of questions. And then as a promoter, I believe that having not having a TV deal in the beginning of my career, and having to struggle and really kind of find ways, and understanding the business and the subculture of boxing from a club level show to televised events, uh, and learning really kind of on a step by step basis, really strengthened me and gave me uh, the tools and the knowledge to be able to hire good people, understand what has to be done. I micromanage a lot of stuff, even though I have people, that work and do different things. I'm very involved, from 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 details to to chairs to lighting to matchmaking. I love the sport of boxing, and I'm involved with it, very much so, because it's very personal to me. So I believe that experience, that that stress, and that those bruises of early experience in the boxing business really gives me an upper hand, um, and and uh, and a tremendous education to be able uh, to deliver the best content to the boxing fans. It is the boxing fans that make the sport go round, and to the
Indeed.
fighters. And my
Indeed.
mission, my on my business deck, I say we want to be inclusive, not exclusive. On my showbox dates, on my fights on the zone, I try to work with every promoter to make the biggest and the best fights for the fighters and for the fans. Because boxer's life is finite. People say like exclusive this, exclusive that. That's not good, man. Exclusive is not good because
Yep.
exclusive does not allow boxing fans to enjoy the best fights. Does not allow the fighters to fight the best fights, to make the money that they want to make, to get the titles that they want to get the legacy that they want to build. It has to be inclusive, and we have to find a way to work with different entities. Even though sometimes people, different personalities in the boxing business, get online and they diss each other and this and that, and that's all fine and good. I mean, like, what if that adds to the promotion of the fight? Great, but that should not stand in the way of making the fights happen. So,
Indeed.
and the personal like or dislikes, uh, or love or hate, whatever, should not stand in the way of our professional responsibility. And our professional responsibility is to make the biggest and the best fights for the sport of boxing, for the fighters and for the fans. And when we talk about fights happening, we have to really make them happen. Because when you talk
Yes.
about big fights happening and they don't happen, that discourages the fans, that discourages the press, and that's a black eye for the sport of boxing. That's why people say, "Is UFC taking over?" UFC is not taking over, but they're a great model, and there's a lot to integrate in our sport. Uh, I believe that boxing is the greatest combat sport known to man,
Indeed.
and now with Showtime and HBO leaving the sport, these two giants that have built so many stars and have captivated the everyday man to love the sport of boxing, they're gone. So we as promoters and as people in the boxing industry need to find new ways to megaphone the stories of these fighters. I want to leave with this. Like, influencer boxing now is significant. The only influencer that I respect is Jake Paul, because Jake Paul, he hired Theo Chambers, known as Third. He does real training camps. He really tries to be the best. He's putting in the work to try to be the best boxer that he could be, which you have to respect. So, and he is getting better, and I respect it. But then there's a whole array of influencers that walk to the gym for a month or 6 weeks. They train, they don't train, and they fight and they get a lot of money and they get visibility. And when I grew up in Star City Boxing Club, I would go home and I would die to watch fights on HBO.
Yep.
Because those guys were the influencers. George Foreman, Eric
Yep.
Morales, Candy McKinney, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather. I mean, the list goes on. These guys were the influencers. When they would walk, down the street in Manhattan, let's say, people would stop them asking for autographs. But and HBO was the best at storytelling. 24/7, was as good or if not better than the fights, because it pulled you in.
Yes.
And it made you like a movie, man. It made
Yes.
it made you made you worried, made you cheer, it
Made you love
excited,
the fighters.
made you love the fighters, and that's what boxing needs, especially in this clickbait uh, environment that we live in now,
Yep.
where where uh, uh, where people want to get excited and people want to see stories. I believe that the, people don't box because their life is peachy.
Yep.
You box, you become a great fighter because you have a chip on your shoulder. That's the truth. And different people from different communities and different parts of the world have different chips on the shoulder. And the common man can relate to those chips on the shoulder because even though they didn't box, they found other ways to be productive and use that energy, whether it was from their childhood or whatever the different hardships that they had that made them, succeed or work hard and struggle and whatever. So everybody can relate to a Manny Pacquiao coming from rags to riches, to an Ergashev, from a village in Uzbekistan, wanting to be a world champion. That's really from a guy, from Jarrell Miller growing up in Brooklyn, New York. But and there's tons of stories. So these stories have to be told, have to be highlighted, and for the sport of boxing to grow, I really believe that's a very important element, and I really believe that if we come together and do the right thing for the fighters and for the fans, the sport is going to grow bigger and wider than ever before. And I would love and working and praying to have a part in that growth.
Absolutely. You're doing a great job, Dmitry. And I tell you what, that was very impressive. And yes, you did answer most of our questions during the show.
So I want to say only in America.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't know if Don King and I say only in America a lot of times. And I say only in America because only in America as it relates to me. Because I'm an immigrant from the Soviet Union, from Ukraine.
Yes, sir.
And, my family, people judge me now sometimes because they see me, I'm not in the shape that I was when I was a fighter.
Don't sell yourself short, brother.
Sometimes I wear a suit and I look a certain kind of way. So, so people, we all judge, so it's okay. But I say only in America because, I came to the United States of America. My family had nothing, welfare, food stamps. I gravitated towards boxing, which was unusual for somebody from my community. And I used boxing as a way to make it out of my ghetto. And it's very difficult, but I believe that through faith and hard work, good things can happen. And I'm grateful to this country for giving me that opportunity and for being, being open about who I am, and really about working hard in the profession that I love, to hopefully be a service to the fighters and to the fans and deliver great content. So only in America, baby.
Great job, Dmitry. I'll tell you what, one final question from our brother Khalid. Welcome to the show, sir. He says he just signed Michelle Rivera, right?
Yes,
What's
I
next
did.
for him? And are we going to build that showdown between Michelle Rivera and Joshan Ergashev?
I think that Michelle Rivera is coming off his career best win against Sergey Lipinets, and Michelle, I believe, is another guy that slides in with the winner and or the loser of the Garcia Haney fight, depending on how it goes, with Matias, with some of the bigger names in the junior welterweight division. I believe both of these guys want to be champions and want to fight the premier names in the division, and we'll see. Maybe they will. That's not the plan as of now. I believe that Michelle is a very talented fighter. He speaks English. He has a certain charisma, a certain charm. He could fight, and I really believe that the sky's the limit for him as well. And he will be on. The plan is for him to be on one of these big time Boxing USA cards, and boxing fans will get a chance to see him. I don't think he's ever fought in DAZN, so it'll be his DAZN debut, and I'm very excited about it. I think I'm excited about many of the things on the horizon that I cannot talk about yet because they're not done, but I believe they will be, and I think it'll help the sport, help the fighters that I represent, and make our shows and events and the sport of boxing more exciting.
Well, I tell you what, we are very fortunate to have you within this business, and we look forward to the future of Dmitriy Salita Promotions as well as a Big Time Boxing USA on DAZN.
Talk to me, baby. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Dmitry. I tell you what, we need to get you back on when we have more time to expound, because it feels like we're just getting started now, doesn't it?
It does feel like we're getting started. I said I was going to go at 9:30, but it's now 9:55, and we're like 40 minutes into the show.
Well, I tell you what, we know that a bedtime story is in your future, so we'll go ahead and bid you adieu. But please promise me you'll come back, hopefully, maybe next week, possibly.
Yeah, that will be great. And Joseph, I know you for a long time, and you are one of the people that love the sport of boxing purely for the good part of it, not for any ulterior motives. And it's very good for the sport when people like you cover it and give it the right coverage and the right attention and the positivity that the sport needs. So thank you so much. And,
thank you, sir.
And we'll be back for sure.
God bless you, Dmitry, and you have a wonderful evening. We look forward to speaking with you very soon, and look for the articles guys, because I can think of about 6 or 7 different articles that are going to come from this interview. Guys, look for the articles. Thank you, Dmitry. God bless you, sir, and
God
we'll
bless.
speak to you very
Thank you so
soon.
much. Thank you, and thank you to the fans.
Have a wonderful evening, sir.
Thank you. Good night, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dmitry, what a great guy he is. And you know what? Honestly, I think this is the least I've ever spoken during one of my shows. Well, I tell you what, guys. James, do you have any time to spend at least 20 minutes?
20. I don't know about 20, maybe 10. I gotta.
Okay, very good. Because look. This is one of the things I love about sharing the air with my brother James. Right? One, he's a boxing lifer, and he's got that passion for it, and he doesn't have any ulterior motives or agendas. And I tell you what, I need to get your thoughts on a couple things. Are you ready, sir? Hold on. I need to get your thoughts on a couple of these things, because usually we just consider the opinion of our very special guests, but I very seldom get to pick your brain. So here it is, brother. Are you ready?
Hey, we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. It's time for fact or fiction.
Oh, here we go.
So I need to ask your opinion of this, my friend. Number 2, we're jumping to 2. Canelo's promised to deliver a big surprise to his Mexican fight fans on May 4th will be the announcement of a fight with David Benavidez this fall. Fact or fiction, sir?
I'm going to say fact.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to say fact. Mainly because I just don't see that many other options, immediate options out there for Canelo Alvarez to, have a fight coming up in September that, people will really anticipate. I think, what he has here for May kind of like suffices for, a number of fans, given it's an all Mexican matchup. So he wants to, continue to go off that momentum by having the fight against David Benavidez and what's going to be the biggest fight of the year.
I agree wholeheartedly, my friend. That's why I made that fact or fiction. You know what, James? But you know what? Let's go back to the Dmitriy Salita interview. And honestly, guys, thank you so much in the chat for hanging with us, because that was spectacular. Like, honestly, I think we need to give Dmitry a time restriction more often.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I think that was one of the times where he's able to open up a little bit. Sometimes he usually keeps to his time constraints. So with this one, he was kind of able to extend it a little bit. So that was
God he did that. That was very kind of him, because that was a geyser of information. So I love what he had to say about cultivating the fighters, bringing back that historic fight culture here in the American market. It's so important, guys, and we stress that all the time on this channel. Your thoughts on his? I love the idea that he compared Big Time Boxing USA to Tuesday Night Fights and Showbox.
Showbox. That was the thing that stood out to me, because from last year, there was like a time when I was, trying to reach out to him before, the whole transition out of Showbox and into, what was eventually gonna, happen with the other things in the sport of boxing. But I wanted to reach out to him to say that particular thing of having that Showbox thing is for promoters like him to showcase his fighters. So to get the opportunity to have a Big Time Boxing USA on his own was very, very good for him, and he's able to showcase his fighters, showcase the fights that are going on, and promote the city of Detroit as a boxing town.
That's it. Because for such a long time, James, the Kronk legacy, that was the 5th big franchise. Now, obviously, everyone loves the Tigers, the Lions, Oh, the Lions. They were good last season.
Yeah.
The Pistons, the Red Wings,
Yep.
and the Kronk, right? Forever it's been that way. You know, and it's funny. I got to call an event at the Joe Louis Arena with Emmanuel Stewart back in the day. And you know what? That has to happen again. That's impossible right now. But he gets it. He truly gets it. Develop that fan base. Get used to bringing events there. Okay? Have that home base. Build that fan base. And that's the way you revive this culture of fight game in America.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing in South Texas. Speaking of which, guys, our next event, May 3rd. Now, obviously, May 4th is going to be Canelo. So we're having a fight event at the Scottish Rite Temple in San Antonio, Texas on May 3rd. And yours truly is going to be doing ring announcing. How do you like that, brother? Hey, and what did you get to hear my intro? My Jimmy Lennon Jr. impression? Did you get to hear it?
Nah, I missed it. Well,
I'm gonna play it for you, brother. So, guys, we're gonna take this opportunity to hear. I want to hear what you guys have to think about, or what you guys think about we're gonna play the entire Salita intro, right? And listen to the end. This is me doing my Jimmy Lennon Jr. impression. Tell me what you think, James. Ladies and gentlemen, Affordable Dentures proudly presents the Star of David, Dmitriy Salita. That's actually me, dude.
the delivery matches Jimmy Lennon Jr. there. Dmitriy Salita.
I love it, man. And guys, I'm going to be doing ring announcing, right? Oh, is it Danny Drew? Who cares? Yeah. Okay, that's why you're here, because you don't care, right? Okay, very good. Thank you, Danny Drew, for being here. Oh, here it is. I still can't get over the fact that Rick Glazier called Dmitry Salita a Yamako. No, geez. Yeah, well, look, I'm not even going to address that. And yes, Big Luke, thank you for hanging with us. I will share that with Rick Glazier. There's my brother, Lance Meyer. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. But guys, I'm going to be doing ring announcing once again, May 3rd in San Antonio, Texas at the Scottish Rite Temple. And look, Big Luke says, I met Dmitry at the Turning Stone Casino, and he sat with me, and we chatted for about 25 minutes. I met DeBella in Saratoga, and we chatted for about 2.5 seconds, and he was gone. That sounds about right, James, right?
Yeah, pretty much at times there, depending on where you're at with Lou.
Yeah, that's right. You either love him or you hate him. But my brother Outlaw, thank you for being here, sir. And thank you, man. I really appreciate it, brother. So one more. Do you have time for one more, sir?
Yeah, one more.
One more. Here we go. Here it is. I need to get your thoughts on this. Number 4. Excuse me. Fact or fiction, Big James? Despite the efforts of the WBO and Team Crawford, Bud will price himself out of a fight against junior middleweight titleist Sebastian Fundora making way for a voluntary title defense against Errol Spence Jr. later this year, with Tim Tszyu guaranteed to fight the winner. Fact or fiction?
That's a fact.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
Yeah, as you know, as we discussed, the other day, the thing with the WBO pointing out that the negotiation period has a certain time with Fundora and Crawford, but also kind of like giving the terms of the purse bid with the minimum of $200,000, and not putting in any stipulations for any modifications to a purse split. That was the thing that kind of stood out to me, because usually you see that when it comes to like fighters that have the stature of Terrence Crawford currently in comparison to a Sebastian Fundora. So with me seeing that, I'm like, well, I don't see this having much legs or anything like that.
Indeed. And have we even seen Terrence Crawford or heard from him at all?
Nope. Not in
No, you're not.
reference.
No, you're not going to. Honestly, I think this was a huge ruse, to be honest with you, to bring more attention to this Tszyu versus Fundora fight. That's what I think. I think that's all it was.
Yeah. Because even with the even with the announcement of having, because we were talking about Errol Spence, right? This whole thing from the WBO actually was ordered before the fight between Tszyu and Fundora.
Yep.
So like folks were talking about Terrence Crawford being a potential opponent before, but when that didn't really get any buzz or movement, then you hear from Errol Spence and it's like, oh snap, Errol Spence back. Yeah, I'm still surprised how much like how quick people reacted to Errol Spence making that post,
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the entire reason why Paco Vercel, like almost at the 11th hour, decided to interject. Oh, by the way, guys, the winner has to fight Terrence Crawford. Did that seem kind of hokey to you?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Okay, and the reason for that was just to bring more attention to that event this past Saturday. I can almost guarantee it. I've been in this business long enough where I know this for a fact. I know this. I can smell it, right? Because Terrence Crawford, why wasn't he at the fight? Why wasn't he at the fight?
Hey, then he didn't have any interest in either one of those fighters.
Right. In my opinion, that's the only detriment to a potential showdown between Canelo and David Benavidez is Terrence Crawford. And in my opinion, boy, he disappoints a lot of fans at the diehard level. But, he brings a lot of joy to the fight fans at the mainstream and casual level. That's the only detriment I see to it, to a Canelo Benavidez fight in the fall. That's it. But we know you are running out of time. But JR, thank you so much for being here, brother, and thank you for helping out when in getting Dmitriy logged on, my friend.
Oh yeah, not a problem.
I really appreciate it, brother. And so, guys, I promise we will reconvene when we have more time. We'll reconvene when Dmitriy has more time. And JR, I'll tell you what, can we do a show, please, with G Funky by the end of the week? Because I love doing the show with both of you guys.
Just let me know, because I may have maybe I think Saturday. I may have something scheduled Friday, but just let me know the time if it's Friday.
Very good. Very good. I sure will, brother. I'll be in touch. Because, guys, it's always a pleasure to share the air with Big JR Bell from the Boxing Source. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please go subscribe to his channel. And please go bookmark theboxingsource.net. Guys, I'm going to be busy writing all night because I'm going to be sending articles to as many periodicals as I can, because Dmitriy, he just issued a mission statement on this show. And that was absolutely brilliant. We love Dmitriy on the show. We hope he gets as much success because he definitely deserves it. So, guys, on behalf of the incomparable JR Bell, I'm Joseph Aaron, and on behalf of Dmitriy Salita, you've been listening to Warwick Boxing. Have a great evening, everybody.
Swirling in our eyesight, champagne stars. We wrestle on a bed of clouds. The TV's on, but 3 just makes a crowd. And disco's always on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Affordable Dentures proudly presents the Star of David, Dmitriy Salita.